Consider. So we're continuing unit 9 of the Moreno units. We're on page 8. We said it says in the Torah, so it's lachem and leochla. So it's not only leochla, it's not only for food, it's also lachem. By the way, later on the pasuk, which means that it's not only, so there are three things, right? There's lachem, which is for any use of yours. Any use. What is any use? So we've been discussing all along. There's leochla, which is for your eating, and which means that it's also for machal behema. So, for example, trumot u'masrot, you don't have to take trumot u'masrot from hay, right? Right, it's an Esav question, exactly. Just thinking about that. Right, it's an Esav question. You have to take trumot u'masrot from hay, and the answer is you don't have to take trumot u'masrot from hay because you only have to take from things that are edible by humans. If you feed your animals, that's not. But does it have a kedushat shvi'it? Yes. Why? Why? Because the pasuk says, right? What about other things? What about plants that we use for dyeing wool, or the wool itself? We're going to get that soon. Not the wool, the cotton. Right? Cotton is more interesting because cotton actually grows. Right?
So those would be flowers, or
right?
Things that we use to dye would be flowers.
Possibly, but again, the flowers, the discussion, pomegranate, you're saying from the Mishnah. Right. We're going to see in the next unit interesting machloket between Shivot and Levi. Can they use the?
For dyeing.
You're talking about the seeds or the skin?
I don't know how they do it.
So they say they use the skin for dyeing.
Oh, really?
Yes. We're going to see it's actually a Mishnah. We're going to see it in the following unit. So the question is, so broadly speaking, we said that the criteria is you need to have hanato v'yo kechad, meaning it has to get used. One shita says it has to get used up while you benefit from it, and the other shita says that you're not allowed to benefit until you start using it up. So that's the machloket we dealt with earlier, and that would define something as kedushat shvit only if it fits this criteria, where it's being utilized as you also harm it effectively. In other words, the utilization has to be in such a way. So, for example, when it comes to flowers, so smell would only fit the one category of not harming until you benefit. Fragrance, thank you. Yes, that is a scent, fragrance. Yes, scent, fragrance. Yes. Thank you. Always happy to help. So when it came to wood, at one point, the Gemara assumed that wood would not fit this category. Why not? So Rashi says, this is on page 8, meaning what do you do when you want to use the aforementioned barbecue? You first burn out the wood, right? Right, you take the wood, you effectively burn it until it becomes.
Because in the end, you still got coals which are part of the wood, right? It's still
Right.
wood, so you still have the hana'ah at the same time as.
So what do you have to say? That it must be that you're not allowed to harm it at all until you benefit. Here, you're going to be significantly harming it before you benefit, right? That must be a Tosfot. Tosfot elaborate. So he says, there could be situations where you would utilize it as you harm it. For example, if you're using it to warm up the house, right? Or to warm yourself up, right? So as it burns, you're enjoying, right? You're getting the pleasure of the heat. Or you could do it for baking. So there are two kinds of ovens we're talking about here. One is more like the barbecue, and the other is more of a two a two, what's it called? Yeah, right. It's like you have the bottom one. You have one space that's in which you burn the wood, but that space is closed, and then it heats the space that's above it. And since that space is closed, or at least not in the same direction, so you don't care. Why do we not barbecue until we finish burning the coal out, burning the wood out? Because we don't want to have all of the smoke, all the smog, all the piach, all the right. But what? The soot, correct. But if I have a separate opening for the wood from the other side, right? If I have one opening from there, one opening from there, right? Or right. So I put the wood in here, that one, and it heats up, and I bake up here, right? So then the soot isn't bothering me because it's going elsewhere. So those kinds of ovens you can use right away. So they'll say, well, you can, but in that case, that would be considered hanatov shava, right? If as I'm burning it, I'm benefiting by cooking, that is hanatov shava. But the Ritva gives a different definition. Why? When do you benefit from it? When you enjoy the taste. When you eat the bread, that's when you're enjoying it. Right, when you eat your steaks, that's when you're enjoying the wood from the barbecue. And where's the wood? It's long gone.
Does there have to be connection to the wood with the food you're eating? In other words, if it's in this oven here, then the heat is getting transferred 6 feet away. It's just the heat. It's absolutely no smoke,
No, so that doesn't bother me because that would be, I think everyone would agree that would be considered utilization. In other words, let's talk about 3 different situations, right? There's the fire, the wood I'm using to warm myself up, right? So if I put that in my fireplace and it starts heating my house up right away as it burns, everyone would agree that's hanatov shava because I'm enjoying the heat as it burns, right? So that's clear. What about the case of, now, also in the barbecue case, they both agree, the Tosfot and the Ritva agree, that at first I burn the wood out, and only then I start making the steaks, and only after that I'll eat the steaks, right? Where would the machloket be? Where you have a baking oven, right, with the two separate chambers, thank you, that's a pretty good word, the 2 separate chambers, right? What? Okay, right. I have one space, one chamber for the wood, the other where I'm baking, and they're separate. So here, I have no problem saying, well, what Glenn was saying, that the heat is radiating from this chamber to that one, so is it connected? That's good enough. That seems to be good enough. What is the problem? The problem is that when do I get the benefit? So Tosfot would say you get the benefit right away, right? Because your pitot are baking. The Ritva says you're not benefiting from it because now you have baked pitot. What are you going to do with them? You haven't enjoyed the pitot yet. Again, we're trying to we're asking, would this fit the definition of hanatov shava? The Ritva says hanatov shava means that I need to get benefit. It's not enough that now I have a loaf of bread.
If you don't eat that bread, then you didn't.
Right.
There's no question about the wood.
Question about what time?
The question is about the wood.
Right. Did I benefit from the wood? Says the Ritva, when do I benefit from the wood?
So it depends always on
When you eat bread.
if you either
When I eat the bread, that's what the Ritva say.
it depends how you use it, that the way sometimes it seems to be the general rule for the wood, no? Because mainly you don't use it straight away, so that's
Right.
even if you use it now for heating up, you still
Right. No, but again, wood is, everyone's going to agree in the end that wood, the Gemara says, is not kadosh. Fine, but I'm trying to understand the definition here. Why does wood not fit that definition? Tosfot says, right? The Ritva says wood, any cooking, baking wood is never fits the definition because when do I gain the benefit? When I eat, not when I cook.
but heating is
Heating, everyone agrees, right? Heating, everyone would agree, correct. But because heating is a direct pleasure you get in your body right away, that's fine. But the Ritva says, now that I have, so you have a steak and now the steak is cooked, yeah, but until you eat it, you didn't gain anything.
We worry about plowing or any of the other things. We don't get any benefit doing that. When do we get the benefit?
I don't know.
Only
That's
when we get the fruit later.
again, you're asking two different questions. Plowing, all those things, that's agricultural work that you have to do on the field. Here I'm asking, what fits the definition of the benefit that you gain from Pirot Shvit? This is going to go into questions. So now that we've said that, what do you guys think about dyeing? I want to dye wool with Pirot Shvit. Oh, so if you say that once you have the, so you can say, I'm not really harming these plants while I'm so I keep on forgetting my words today. I'm dyeing wool, right? So I'm extracting the paint, the color that's in these, right? That's in this plant, right? I'm cooking it, and as I cook it, or whatever needs to be done, cook it with whatever essences have to be used, right? Whatever it is, and that extracts the dye, and the dye goes into the wool, and now I have more expensive wool. That's great. The Ritva says, what are you gonna do with wool? Say, now you make a sweater, then you'll wear it. That's 6 stages, or that's 6 steps away. It also didn't say, well, now you have dyed wool. Now the wool is worth twice as much, or whatever. So you've already benefited, right? L'chora. Well, right?
You want a nicer wool and you have that.
I see. All right, but again, then we'd say that would not be the normal case. The normal case is you want to use the wool to create something else, right? Yeah. So have a look what Rashi says about Mishal Kvusa. So Rashi writes 2 very different things about Mishal Kvusa. Mishal Kvusa natan achal biuran. Why? שמשעה ששורה הבגדים או הפשתן ביין שעה אחת נתבר ועבד לו. הנעתו אינה עד שילבש הבגדים. More like the Ritva, right? We're talking about detergents, right? I take the plants, I use them as detergents. So when I put the detergent with the clothing, then I'll wash it off, and what do I have now? Clean clothing, okay. And then you'll dry them, then you'll be able to wear them, the following day. All right, but that happens much later, and all the detergent is already in the sewers, right? It's long gone, or down the river, depends on where you live, right? The next Rashi says, meaning, when I put laundry detergent on my smelly clothing, here I'm allowed to say smelly, right? When I take laundry detergent, I put it on my smelly clothing, right? What happens to the laundry detergent? It can no longer be used, right? That's it. Now it's mixed into this, right? So at that point, it's already been harmed, and I haven't benefited anything yet. When do I benefit something, says Rashi? No, in the second Rashi. That's in the first Rashi, right? So in the first Rashi, she says until you wear it. The second Rashi says until the clothing is clean. So, yes. Why?
I understand here it's talking about 3 or 4 days delay.
That's way. It still takes an hour in your washing machine, right? As opposed to having bread.
Having bread doesn't give you pleasure to have a loaf of bread in the house, but
having clean shirt does.
But don't we think that Hana from Ochel, that the Hana of Ochel, just eating is maybe slightly closer to it, or we don't care at all? Is there some period? I'm not satiated by wearing my clothes. So, and a lot of the whole concept of, Shmita, and so much of it
Mhm.
is around the eat, what should you eat from the
Right.
Lord? All even, straight out of the Torah, it talks about, how the land will be blessed and give more, so you will not starve, blah, 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 and everything. So there's definitely a closeness of Shmita to food and sustenance and in eating as opposed to perfume and dyeing and wearing clothes. So I'm wondering at what point do we consider the things that also plays a significant role.
So we're going to see later on. It's a very good point. We're going to see later on that the Torah says lachem lochla. So on the one hand, lachem, which is other uses. On the other hand, lochla is a central feature, right? And we'll see that there will always be precedence to the utilization as food over the others. But what about things in which there aren't? So we're talking about wine, which is one of the examples here. So yes, you'll definitely drink the wine, unless it's bad wine. But you'll definitely drink the wine or use it for cooking, maybe, but not use it for other uses. But there's another question about what about plants that are inedible but can be used as detergents. Here, the question is the other way around. Here, it's a bit of a confusing point, so I try to reiterate it over and over again. Oh, that's very good. Good point. So, like this, there are two separate questions that have to be taken into account. Two separate questions we have to answer. One question is, what plants have Kedushat Shvit? So, okay, anything edible? Fine. Anything that animals eat? No, edible because it says lochla. It says lochla, we're done, right? That's easy, right? Also, so once again, the animals eat it, it's also fine, right? All right, good. That's the easy half. That's the easy part. What about other things? It says lachem lochla. So anything you use. Anything you use. So here the direction is any useful plant is kadosh. Is that correct? If hanato v'lo shava, right? So the question is, I have a plant, and my question is this plant kadosh? Right? So here's a plant that's used traditionally as laundry detergent, right? However that's done, right? You extract the soaps or the oils or whatever it is from this plant and then use it as a laundry detergent or hand soap or whatever, right? Now, does this have kedusha? The answer is, well, that depends on whether, generally speaking, laundry detergent is something that hanato v'lo shava, right? I'm gaining the benefit as I'm utilizing it. That's one direction. Then there's the opposite direction, which is, I have something which I know is kadosh v'kedushat shvit for whatever reason. Am I allowed to use it as hand soap?
If it's not the preferable way of using it, it's not.
So you are right that there's a bit of a conflict here, right? Because on the one hand, that's why I said let's not talk about what the reason it's kadosh is, but that is a fair point. What about if I have something that could be used as a dye or as a soap, right? So the first question is, does it have kedushat shvit? So you could say it has kedushat shvit because of its use as dye, possibly. We'll see that soon. Okay, am I allowed to use it as soap?
In the form of soap, it doesn't have kedushat shvit.
So
and you're destroying it at the same time.
Oh, so in the form of soap, is that so? Right. So it'd be more.
So the form, it's not only a matter of how it's used, but sometimes it takes on a different form entirely. It becomes something chadash.
So okay, I hear you. In other words, so there is such a distinction. I didn't want to go deeply into it. There is such a distinction. I'm going to simplify and then go back to what Rabbi Baruch said because he did make a fair point, which I was going to skip. But broadly speaking, when we have, let's say I have something that's used as dye, and then the dye, use as dye is hanato v'lo shava. Let's assume that. So now I have a plant that has kedushat shvit. Okay, am I allowed to use it as soap? forget the form for a moment. Broadly speaking, that's what we're answering here, and the answer is no. And then we see how it goes both ways. Meaning, if I have a plant that's primarily used as soap, am I allowed to use it as soap on Shmita? The answer is yes. Why? Because it's not kadosh b'kedushat shvit. Because anato v'yula are in shava. Because first I harm the soap, and only then I enjoy it. I benefit from it, right? But therefore, I'm allowed to use it. Why? Because it has no kedusha. What about the opposite? I have something that's used. I have a plant that's used for dye, and that makes it kadosh b'kedushat shvit. Okay, not right. Now I want to use it as soap. Am I allowed? The answer is no. Why not? Because it's the same reason, but the outcome is the opposite. You see what I'm saying? In other words, the first soap I was allowed to waste. I was allowed to throw it in the garbage. Why? Because I was going to shvit. Right? Because I have no kedushat shvit, because soaps don't have kedushat shvit. But since soaps don't have kedushat shvit, I'm not allowed to use things that are kedushat shvit as soaps.
Why not?
So what?
It says the offline, no? So it means if you're not allowed to use something which you normally should eat, you're not allowed it for something else. But if you don't use it anyway for eating, like for that, what does it make a difference what I use it for?
So this, all right.
It seems like there should be some hierarchy. There you're putting dyeing above cleaning or something like
Why?
that. I don't know why. I mean, just.
The question is that just because we think the dyeing is holier than cleaning, or is there a more fundamental issue? The issue there is that dyeing is something that isn't harmed and stays with you, as opposed to the soap that gets harmed right away and you only benefit from it later on. So it's not.
It's a sense of waste.
Yes, it is waste before you benefit properly.
But the timing of the waste.
Correct. But have a look at the Gemara on page number 1. I just want to point something out that one.
And it's something you wanted to completely has no benefit at all, but you want it and you want to get rid of it because it's potentially harmful, like poison ivy. I mean, you could destroy it on Shmita without any problem. Yeah.
I'm not understanding
Poison
what's
ivy. I mean,
right. Okay.
It's growing. You don't want to really. You're not trying to
Cultivate. Oh, I see.
You want to get rid of it before it spreads.
Right.
So can you kill it?
Right. That you can. Okay.
I don't think there's any.
Right. No, right. Correct. In other words, all the plants that there's no benefit from. So, right, there are two questions you asked here, right? And they're intertwined, obviously, right? Anything you can benefit from during Shmita, anything you can benefit from, sorry, it has no kedushat shvit, right? So you could kill it. Now, what about the positive effect that has on your land? So here, if you're concerned about it, that the detriment, then you can get rid of it.
Your land is not taking water, it's not spreading into what other plants will be, but you really don't want it to go. Dangerous not to the land, but more dangerous to you. Maybe dangerous from war, but
So that's
I
another
don't want to get poison ivy.
right. No, so that's another important point. You're saying you didn't mind me being endangered, but you have to take care of yourself. I hear that. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, I'm just filing that, just for future use. Yeah.
There's a hierarchy. That's what we're learning about.
Correct, hierarchies. So, there, my choice of getting rid of my choice of getting rid of the poison ivy in that case would be so that I could avoid it. Right. Correct. And therefore anything that would be